Once upon a time, there was a machine called a brake lathe. They could be found at any automotive machine shop, and most auto parts stores also had them. For $8 to $10, you could get your brake drum or brake rotor resurfaced. Then it was $12. Then it was $16. And then it was $20. At about the same time, people discovered that they could buy a brand new brake drum or brake rotor for $20. So why would you want your old rusty brake rotor resurfaced when you could buy a brand new shiny one for the same amount of money? So the brake lathe got pushed back into the corner in the dark. It was a sad and lonely time for the brake lathe. But then something happened. It became harder and harder to find a brake rotor or brake drum for less than it would cost to have one resurfaced. So the brake lathe started coming out of the dark corners and showing up on Craigslist, Marketplace, eBay, and the local auctions. That's where these came from. So are they making a comeback? I'm willing to bet on it. I picked these machines up a while ago at the auction, pretty cheap. But I'm going to wager on they're going to make a comeback, because I've seen some brake rotors for trucks, big brake drums, big brake rotors for trucks for a lot more than $20. I got these machines really cheap. And the only real consumable are these tiny little triangular shaped inserts. And they're not expensive at all. It doesn't use any coolant, and it just plugs into a normal wall socket. So today, I have a couple of junk drum rotor, and I took the time to get the machines cleaned up and set up. Like I said, I've barely used them. And we're going to resurface some junk parts that I don't even know what they fit. I don't even remember where they came from. This is going to be used for a waste oil heater project, and the drum is going to be used for a grinder stand. So none of this really matters, but let's have some fun. So I already have the drum mounted. You can see it's rusty and crusty and has grass growing out of it. It's already mounted up. The rubber band to keep the harmonics and chattering down is already on. And we're going to fire this thing up, bring the cutter up to the corner, and then draw it out. So let's get going with that. So we're just going to draw the boring bar into the inside of the drum until we hear it make contact. The next thing I'm going to do is bring it in. Till it hits that back wall. Then I'm going to lock this axis so that this doesn't move. And then we're just going to turn on this one. And as you can see, it's just quietly drawing out. All right, let's take this off here and see what we ended up with. Get my anti-chatter device out of the way. These are left-hand thread. This is all nothing more than spacers here. This is your front cone. Reason that it's flying out at me is because, oh, that's heavy. It's because it's spring-loaded. So you have your back piece here, and you have a spring, and you have a taper that gets pushed back into there. And that's what centers everything up. They're pretty much all the same, drum or rotor. There's no difference. So, pick all this crap up I dropped. How's that? Nice, clean, resurfaced, renewed. Good to go another few laps. I always take a DA, clean up my mating surfaces, make sure I'm not loading on a problem. Okay, now we're going to move on to the brake rotor. Load it on the same way, nut, spacer, the big hub, a cone, spring, and then the back hub. So when you're turning drums, you're going to be using this axis. When you turn rotors, you're going to be using this axis. So, and there's a little more to it here. I have to adjust each side. Let's get moving on this one. It cleaned up real nice on that side. Didn't hardly take any bite at all off of it. This side, however, did not clean up all the way. Looks like it would take probably 5 to 8 more thousandths to clean it up. I'm not going to bother because I'm not using this for anything. But one thing that I always will do next, just to keep people from getting hurt. You always want to knock this sharp edge off. They can be pretty jagged at times. So is the brake lathe going to make a comeback? Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. I'm betting they are. As always, thank you for watching. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, please do. Have a great weekend. As always, thank you for watching. If you hadn't... As always, thank you for watching. If you hadn't...